Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Fred Chase. Today is October 25th, and the time is 7:03 p.m., and I will call to order this meeting of the Bridgewater Town Council. If you would all kindly rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will remind everyone in attendance that this meeting is being aired live and recorded for a future broadcast. The Town Council has not been made aware of the recent passing of any veterans of the town, but I would ask your cooperation in commemorating a moment of silence in memory of all those veterans who have passed before. Thank you. Thank you very much. The first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes, in this case from the September 27th, 2022 meeting of the council. And I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will require a roll call vote for matters before us this evening. If I could have a roll call.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
And Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. We additionally have for consideration the approval of the minutes of our last meeting, which was dated October 11th, 22. But I believe that because of the absence of a number of counselors at that meeting, some of whom are here this evening, but we would not be able to consider a vote to approve those minutes. That will need to be continued to our next meeting. Announcements from the President. I have none. We have no plan for proclamations to be read this evening. So we'll move to the next item, which is Citizen Open Forum. And I would welcome citizens who care to address the council to kindly step forward to the podium, introduce yourself by name and street address, and kindly limit your remarks to not more than 3 minutes. Dr. Hunt?
Thank you. Carlton Hunt, Austin Street. I come before you as the Community Preservation Committee Vice Chair, just to remind you and the public who may be watching that we have a hearing tomorrow on Zoom at 6:30 p.m. It's our annual hearing. We will go over some history. We'll go over some current projects. We'll go over some questions, and we need to get some input as to where we might be heading in the next 2.5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hunt. Other citizens? Yes, Mr. Baumgarten.
Good evening, councilors. Sam Baumgarten, 60 Short Street. First, I want to express my support for the DEI ordinance, which is coming up tonight. And I think if you approve that, I hope you will, that it will take us beyond some of the symbolic supports we have given for inclusion and equity, such as the flag raisings and proclamations, and it will get us into the nitty-gritty of examining and tracking town policies and procedures at a deeper level. Also, of course, I'm in support of the Tree Commission because I'm an outdoors person and I want to see as many trees as possible, and I'm glad that we may have the possibility of having a board that will oversee that. But secondly, I wanted to make a number of comments, hopefully that will make some sense and have togetherness to it, about accessible, up-to-date, accurate information for the citizens of the town. I got started thinking about this with the upcoming January election. How will voters know what's going on? What are the precincts? What are the districts? Who are we voting for? I didn't even know that until I started checking myself a few days ago. The average voter probably does not go to the town website to look for that information. And what also brought this to my mind was in doing a lot of basement cleaning, you'll get a chuckle out of this. This is from the 2003 Brockton Enterprise, a paper which we all used to get in those years. I'm going to pass this around. Because as column after column, what did the Board of Selectmen do that week? All of their votes and
I must be in there.
topics that were brought up, the Board of Health. Everything was in that paper. And in those days, probably half to three-quarters of the town got the Enterprise, maybe more. So I got to thinking about where is the place that we can do that? And the obvious place to me is on Facebook. Now, the town Facebook page has about 4,000 members, but the residents page has 23,000, and the 02324 page has another 9,000. So isn't there some way that the town offices, the clerk, the town manager, the council, can post important pieces of information on the residents page? Not with all the info, but with links that will take you directly to the important information. So I think there should be some discussion between you folks here and the people who organize those Facebook pages to put it out there. And I can say the same thing. Carlton just made an announcement about a meeting tomorrow night. I think I may have seen it once, but I'm not sure. But I'm on the residents page in Facebook every day. I scroll through, and if that had popped up on the residents page, there's at least a chance I would have known about it. So I think what we need to do is we need to go to the voters, not rely on the voters to go to the town website on their own or the clerk's website and so on. And to me, unless you have another suggestion, Facebook is the way of the world right now. And if we can make an inroad there, I think that would be helpful. The other thing is, I think on the town's webpage itself, things need to be more easily clickable and findable. So you hit one click and you've got the minutes, and another click and you've got agendas. And right now it's taking a click here, a click there, a click there. Even when I get an email that comes from the town, it says read on. So you click read on and it takes you to another page. Click here for this. One more click. So it takes a little too much, I think, too much effort in a way to get to the information that we should have. So I hope that you as a group can, take a look at this and see if we can come up with some answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. Mr. Jamian.
Ray Jamian, 221 Aldridge Road. I totally agree with Mr. Baumgartner on everything he said, and particularly the town website. The tree committee is before you tonight, and I've already thanked a number of people that have worked hard on this committee, and in particular now, Mr. Chase and Mr. Souza in the subcommittee where we met last week. I just want to emphasize, I think this is an important committee. We need fire, we need police. They're requirements for any town. But there's more to a town than simply giving our services. I mean, something like the library is important. And a tree committee, I think, will be very important just for the general niceness of this town. So I hope that when it comes up tonight, we see a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jamian. Other citizens? Yes?
How you guys doing? My name's Brad McKinnon. I live at 86 Spring Street. I want to first thank Mr. Dutton for allowing us to, the folks over at Fire for Effect Foundation, to start the park back up over there. I've lived on Spring Street basically my whole life, besides 4 years when I lived on Flag Street. And it's good to see that place just coming back together, all the local businesses that were in there, bringing money to veterans, all that. It's a good cause. I was part of the cleanup. I want to thank Mr. Gallagher and Souza for also being there. I believe you were there, Mr. George, right? Thank you, too. The reason why I'm here is, just like this guy, I have articles from the Enterprise from back in the day, from my father's when he used to take care of the town, when the transfer station went out and all that good stuff. And I'm not looking for no Enterprise article myself, but that property will need some loam if you guys want to do grass there, and I will gladly donate any loam that is needed. Just save some money for some picnic tables or solar lights and all that. Just something to help the town. All I need is just send over a DPW truck and I'd load them up and get it out of there. Help you guys out, and that's really all I'm here to say. Besides one other thing now that I think of it, that river, if you look behind Burlington, while I was cleaning, some guy was there and suits, all that, going through the river. 2 trees that are down right now in the flow. The fish can't get up, the flow can't go down as much as it wants to, and that's just something I think that should be taken care of somewhat soon. I mean, I have a canoe, I live right there, I could get in there and do it with a chainsaw myself, but I don't think the town would really want that to happen, you know? But besides that, that's really all I had to say. All right?
Thank you very much. Other citizens who would care to address the council?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Good evening.
Good. My name is Rigobert Noel, 10 Garnett Place. I come before you in full support for the DE&I initiative that's on your table today. On behalf of my team and I, we worked tirelessly over the past year or so before we presented the town with the recommendations that are before you. Obviously, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is a human rights issue, and it truly is an issue that needs to be addressed. This is just the beginning stages of addressing these issues. How do we create a town that is inclusive for all people? Let me give you an example of some things that I, myself, and my family are doing to be inclusive. We started a youth flag football league in Bridgewater. And the youth flag football league, the design of it and the objective of it is to teach young people about leadership through sports. As a former athlete myself, I've learned so much playing football and basketball, running track. We've expanded our offerings where we have a new division where we call the division Young Athletes with different abilities. This began as a result of a parent who contacted me and said, "My child isn't mainstream. Could you please offer something to help my child who has different abilities?" So we've expanded our offerings. My point of mentioning this is to simply highlight the importance of looking at challenges that affects people, humans. So my hope is that you all will consider tonight's vote, and you will vote yes. I am aware, to my knowledge, I am aware that a similar legislation was before the previous town councilman, and unfortunately, it was voted down for whatever reason. That was then. This is now. I want to live in a town that promotes equity, that promotes diversity, that looks at belonging as a sense, as a right for all humans, regardless of your disposition, your beliefs, both political, personal, etc. So I encourage each one of you, on behalf of my team, on behalf of the town that we all represent and we love, I'm hoping that tonight's vote will be that each one of you will say yes. And let's start the work together so that we can bring, we can develop a town that is certainly one that looks at all human beings as equal. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Other citizens for citizen comment? And seeing none, we'll proceed. We begin this evening with 2 appointments to consider, the first of which is an appointment to the Cultural Council. This is to provide for the appointment of Svetlazar Milishev for the term from 2022 to 2025. And it certainly appears that we have a well-qualified candidate in this person, and I hope that the council can favorably consider it.
Make a motion to appoint.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? And seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
And Mr. George?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. Secondly, we have an appointment before the Zoning Board of Appeals. It's Mr. Dan Greenberg. He would serve on the zoning board for the period 2022 through 2025. Once again, I'm acquainted with Mr. Greenberg personally, and I have had really the first time to observe his qualifications, and they certainly seem particularly well-suited for the position he seeks. I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, thank you. Any discussion?
I'll just add to your comments that reading through the resume and this is great. This is attracting a very highly qualified person, as was the last candidate, but very highly qualified person to committees, which is exactly the direction we're looking to go into. Thank you.
Thank you very much, I certainly concur. If we could have a roll call vote, please.
Sure. Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
And Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations to those candidates. I think that they are going to be enormously helpful to the respective committees that they will serve. Next, we have 2 hearings this evening, and we'll commence the first. I will open the public hearing on the matter of ordinance FY 23-003, General Ordinance, Amend Administrative Code, Article 3, Section 11A, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. And I note, for the record, the time is 7:20, and I would ask first if there are any general questions from members of the public with respect to this matter. Any questions at all from the general public about this matter? And seeing none, is there anyone from the public who would care to speak in favor of this ordinance? Yes, Dr. Hunt.
Carlton Hunt, I'm 100% behind it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You may.
I'll just say again, Sam Baumgarten, 60 Short Street, and please vote yes. I'm for it.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. Anyone else caring to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? Seeing none. Is there any member of the public here who wishes to speak in opposition to this matter? Anyone who opposes this matter before the committee? And I see none. Questions from the town councilors, if any? And if there are none, that's relatively understandable, given the history that we've had here.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm reading through the proposal. I guess my question to you, to the town manager, I know there's a recruitment process, but does the committee have a limit to members? I didn't see that anywhere. Like, the committee makeup, so to speak. Who appoints? Is the appointment process through the town manager, or, and is there a limit to the committee members?
The appointment, both good questions. The appointment process is very similar to other boards and committees, as you've gone through tonight. We have set the committee membership at least 5 members and no more than 9 members. So,
Okay.
so there's a range there. Obviously, a quorum would be a majority of the seated members.
It's under Section A.
A, okay.
Thank you very much.
That's it.
If I may, I would like to just point out, taken from the actual recommendation report before the council, that I'm sure the councilors are familiar with, but for the public, if there may be some members of the public who aren't familiar, I wanted to point out the 4 strategic goals of this committee as are enumerated in the recommendation report. 1, to increase representation of historically excluded populations in all areas of town government. 2, to conduct annual equity audits to ensure accountability within town government. 3, to lead community education campaigns to engage the community about local issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And finally, 4, to facilitate collaboration between the citizens of Bridgewater and town government to create a culture that welcomes and celebrates all identities. Let me ask if there are any other questions from, or comments from the councilors?
I have one, Mr. President.
Yes, please go ahead, Councilor Rushton.
So I just first want to just recognize the work of all the volunteers, in particular Councilor Chase and Moore in co-sponsoring this piece of legislation. I think tonight's vote sends an important message to the town, and I would ask and hope for a unanimous vote in favor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For my part, I just wanted to make a quick reference to the length of time that the ad hoc committee had devoted to the study of this and the formulation of this proposal and the compilation of this recommendation report. Just the report itself, I think, reflects a great deal of devotion to the topic, and I think that it has been very thoroughly vetted. It's, I feel, an absolutely essential item as the town grows and continues to look forward. And I think that, for my part, I would strongly recommend adoption of this proposal. Yes, Councilor Moore.
If I could add to that, I also support this. I think this is a really important thing for our town. It's an important statement for us as a council to make about the importance of this work. And so echoing the previous comments, I hope everyone votes unanimously to support this. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor. Any further comments from the council? And if not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, if we could please have a roll call vote.
Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
And Mr. George?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you all very much. The time I see is 7:25, and I will call to order the second hearing of the evening with respect to ordinance FY 23-004, General Ordinance Amend Administrative Code, Article 3, Section 26A, Tree Committee. Just a preliminary remark, I have put before each of the councilors a marked-up version of the ordinance. As you know, the Rules and Procedures Committee on October 20th did meet and unanimously approved the ordinance as proposed, or I should say as amended, as you see it here. We made two very minor amendments. One was, you can notice that the word commission inadvertently appeared in place of what should appear, the word committee. We corrected that, but then further we added one additional sentence under item B, and that added sentence, I'll just read quickly. It reads, "The committee shall advise town officials and the town council as the appropriating authority on the use of monies collected through any tree cutting mitigation funds the town may receive." In the formulation documents, the Rules and Procedures Committee noted that comments with respect to the advisory role of the tree committee for purposes of the disbursement of funds was well addressed in the underlying documents, but it was not reflected here in the ordinance. And we felt strongly that it really does need to appear within the law itself. So that was the rationale for having made that amendment. So let me ask, first of all, if there are members of the public who would have questions with respect to the proposed tree committee? Anyone at all? Any questions? Yes, Mr. Ajamian.
No questions. I mean, unfortunately, I did not realize this was a public hearing, so I followed Mr. Baumgarten's lead, which was a mistake. But no, I've said my piece. And if any of you have any questions for the subcommittee that put this together, by all means, we'll answer them. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions from the general public? We see none. Anyone from the general public care to speak in favor of the tree committee? Yes, I see Dr. Hunt.
Thank you again, Carlton Hunt, Austin Street. I'm speaking to you as the chair of the Energy Committee. This is one of the really important things that we do. We cut a lot of trees in this town, a lot of times without much in the way of permits. And trees are one of the major sinks for carbon. Carbon is a problem. I think this tree committee has a lot of work and a lot of recommendations to be made. So I am wholeheartedly in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other members of the public who care to speak in favor of the proposed tree committee? Seeing none. Is there any member of the public caring to speak in opposition to the proposed ordinance? Anyone speaking in opposition? I see none. Questions from the town councilors? Yes, Councilor Wood.
Thank you. Just really one question. So, and I'll preface it by saying that at one point, Bridgewater won an award for being a tree city. And I think the sign is down by Councilor Souza's house, actually, on the road leading into Bridgewater. The question is that, and it may have been in some of the description, is if trees could be placed on private property, or is this strictly for municipal use only?
I would defer, with your permission, to Mr. Ajamian. I think he has an answer to that question.
To answer your question, the ordinance is written, so this is only dealing with public trees. It has nothing to do with private trees. The only thing that would relate to a private individual would be that the tree committee may, at various times, come up with information so people could look at it to its types of what tree they want to put on their property. But it does not mandate the town to have any control over private trees.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the town councilors? Yes, Councilor George.
Mr. President, and maybe at least to Mr. Ajamian. So in that same vein, if we do have a development going on private property, the planning board could require the developer to give us tree mitigation money, and that would fall within your purview to not only manage the money, but would it also be your determination of how much they would have to put into that fund to basically replace the trees that they're taking down? Am I correct on that?
I think we're talking about two different levels here. One, if a developer comes in and cuts down, like on 10 acres of trees, that would be the purview of the planning board, period. It would, okay. And the planning board, up to this point, has asked for mitigation money.
Okay.
We have not been able to require mitigation money. Under the new zoning, which I believe is just about in effect or not in effect,
Close.
there will be,
Right.
there will be power to ask for mitigation
I
money.
should have prefaced it by under the new zoning. So planning board would say to the developer, let me take a step back. So within that confine, these are just general questions. The developer comes with a plan, right? And I'm just gonna throw out like numbers. Maybe it's like 30 acres. And they're gonna clear cut 20 acres of it. Would the planning board work with you to determine what the mitigation money would be on top of you kind of managing that money to make sure we do the replacement? Or does that come under the tree commission to go to the planning board and say it's going to be X amount of dollars to replace the trees that are being cut down?
The tree commission could advise the planning board regarding it, but it'd be still the purview of the planning board to make that determination, not the tree commission. The tree commission, once the money has been funded by the developer, could then determine how the money is going to be spent through the town manager, of course. Could be planting trees here or there, or could be spent elsewhere.
But would it be your expectation, the planning board, just to get your input on what ultimately they should fall upon, requiring a developer to?
That's one of the things that would be worked out. In other words, the relationship between the planning board and the tree committee, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
great, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there further questions from the town council members? And seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
That's a motion for approval.
As amended, Mr. President?
As amended, yes.
Well, so they made the motion. I'll make the motion to amend the measure.
Exactly. And I'll second that.
Very good.
We're going to vote on the amendment first, and then
First.
we'll go back to the main motion.
All right, very good. So we have the motion to amend, and we have a second. Any further discussion on that? No?
None.
All right, if we could have a roll call vote on the motion to amend.
Sure. Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
And Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. And now the main motion, I would entertain a main motion for approval of the measure
Well, there is a main
We-
motion.
we already-
We
already
just
did
need a vote
Just take a vote.
or discussion.
for discussion. Very good. And do we have a second?
There was a second, yeah.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
And Mr. George?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we have no license transactions this evening, nor presentations, and we will move directly to the town manager's report. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Dutton, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fairly short report tonight on the fire station progress. We are finalizing the contract for the OPM. Our designer, Brian Hume, has begun work on the final plans, and we will continue to work on those plans for roughly 6 to 8 months, after which, assuming the plans are suitable, we'll go out to bid for construction, and we will proceed with the project. So not a whole lot to report there, but as we do with every large capital project, we'll keep that on the building project, we'll keep that on the agenda. Excuse me, Marathon Park, I know there was some concern over the past couple of weeks about Marathon Park and the condition, specifically the trash that was around it. As I think most of the council knows, Marathon Park was a fantastic addition to the town. It was donated privately. There was a construction, a volunteer construction day, and most of that park went up in about a day, and then some of it took a little bit longer, but all donated from a very generous benefactor. We, quite frankly, struggled to keep up with the upkeep. Parks and Rec Department sounds like a very robust group of people. In reality, it's one person plus another groundskeeper and a part-time park steward. So in reality, I have about 2.5 people to take care of about 500 acres of open space and Legion Field and the softball fields and so on and so on. So we are trying to always figure out ways to do things better, and I think we've got this one under control. But just to give you a little bit of history, the original manufacturer of the materials or the play equipment in the park went out of business. I know there was a long period of time where we had some broken equipment there. We removed that. We had to source alternative manufacturers to replace a number of pieces of equipment, which we did, fortunately. Early this summer, late spring, we hired a new Parks and Rec superintendent. He did hit the ground running during our busy season. Our prior Parks and Rec superintendent did an outstanding job for many, many years, but did not necessarily leave behind a lot of operation and maintenance manuals. So there was a bit of a process to get our new superintendent underway. So we did have a brief overlap of employment, but it was still a challenge for Jim Small to get a full grasp of everything that Charlie had been doing over the years. In any case, we've traditionally relied upon users of all our parks, certainly Marathon's no exception, and the volunteers that have very graciously stepped forward to try to keep the park cleaned up. We have had a dumpster placed there. The dumpster was offered for free when the trash company was a former trash company, and I think one of the areas of confusion was the trash company was sold. The new trash company did not know of that arrangement, and so the dumpster sat there for a period of time, which was not anticipated or good. So that's sort of what happened there. The new company now knows how that arrangement worked. They've picked up the dumpster, removed it, certainly for the season, and our employees, all 2.5 of them, are going to try to take a much more proactive approach to get to that park on a, if not daily, certainly a more frequent basis, just to pick up some of any garbage that unfortunately is left there. We'll also post signage to the effect that it's sort of carry in, carry out. If you bring something in, we expect you to bring it out. We can say that, but that doesn't always work that way. So we do anticipate posting more signage there, just to let people know that it's sort of volunteer-driven and to respect the work that the volunteers do. But regardless, I think we have it under control at this point, and it is, as you know, very proximate to the police station. So at least we have not had serious issues that would rise to the level of police involvement there. So, but I'm happy to answer questions on either of those items.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Yes, Councilor Wood.
Let's stay focused on Marathon Park for a minute, because I had a lengthy call this week on that discussion. Broader question, which I don't need you to answer, and Mr. Rollins probably would say, well, it's not on the agenda, so can't answer it anyway, is how is town trash managed in general? Because there's quite a few buildings that have trash pickup. There's quite a few resources like Legion Field, Marathon Park, other park areas that need pickup. And so I think there needs to be a deeper discussion on that. But returning back to Marathon Park, I think we need to have a deeper discussion on whether it's a carry-in, carry-out policy, which a lot of beaches use, or whether we're going to have an established pickup, which a lot of areas use also. And I think that's probably something we need to talk about as a town manager policy, maybe with the backing of the council, to look at what is the right way. Because if it's just carry in, carry out, you know that it's going to be trash, and you still need resources to pick that up. And if you put a dumpster there, then someone's got to be responsible for managing the dumpster and the 2 barrels there, as well as other locations. And maybe that's a transfer station type of activity with additional staffing or something else. I think it's broader than just Marathon Park that we're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Other questions or comments for the town manager from the council? Yes, Councilor Souza.
The town manager, not those subjects. Mr. Dutton, when you finish writing.
Go ahead.
Notes are important. I keep getting calls about that little system that you put in down by the highway garage for the water. It's still not in use, or still not able to be used, I should say. What's the holdup, and when do we expect it to be available?
For the council's information, I think, I anticipate that being open. I'm hoping it will be open on Thursday. So.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Further questions for the town manager's report? And I see none. All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Actually, for the next report, Mr. Dutton, if we can get an update on the mobile station?
Yes.
Very good. Committee reports. Does anyone care to bring forward a committee report?
Can we go back to discussions? Because
Oh,
Yeah.
gee. How could I have forgotten?
I can open that if it's okay with you.
We'll cover our discussion. We have put on the agenda a discussion item this evening concerning holiday decorations on the town common. And I think it's no secret, but that there's been quite a bit of discussion on social media and otherwise throughout the town within the last week or so in particular that really began to surface in the wake of the decision by the Lions Club to not proceed with its annual sponsorship of holiday decorations on the town common that I know that we're all familiar with, and we've been very grateful to the Lions Club over the course of many years for what they do in that regard. So social media in particular, there was quite a good amount of comment, and there was a widespread misperception that in some form or fashion, the town was responsible for either requesting or directing that those decorations not be put in place. And for my part, I simply wanted to have an opportunity to emphatically state that the town and the town council had no role whatsoever in any decision to curtail the customary installation of holiday decorations on the common. I believe it to have been entirely an internal decision by the Lions, and that's really been the extent of my understanding of it. But I certainly wanted to put forward a statement, as the town manager has as well, on the town website, to indicate that this happens to be a private matter that the town did not have a role in. Yes, Councilor Wood?
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple comments if I could. First of all, I am looking forward to the lights. I've been saying for years that the downtown area, especially at night, is a dreary place. I can tell you that as a Lion in the Bridgewater Lions Club, and having been on the board for 15 years and having set up and taken down the decorations for 15 years, the time during which the decorations are up, and especially the lights in the trees, always add additional light to the downtown area and make it look brighter. And I think that the effort by the BIA organization, putting up lights, white lights to my understanding, is a great addition to downtown. It will light up downtown. If we want a vibrant downtown, it's got to be user-friendly. It's got to be pedestrian-friendly. It's got to be inviting, and I think that'll add to it. As far as the decorations go, I just want to take this opportunity, as I did in 2015 when I was president of the council. I actually gave a proclamation to Lenny Wood, who's now passed on, but Don Swartz has not. And I'd like to say to everybody who's listening, if you see Lion Don Swartz, thank him for 40 years of creative involvement for the decorations that have been on the common. Lenny and he have been the driving force behind the decorations literally for 40 years. And Lenny passed on several years ago, and Don has kept that going with adding the big reindeer that people saw a couple years ago and adding the new elves that people saw. And he was, he's not a young guy anymore. And a lot of what you misunderstand or have heard that's like hearsay and everything else is simply that, the craftsmanship has kind of retired, right? So there is a Lions meeting tomorrow and a Board of Directors meeting. Following that, there's still some discussion going on. I don't know exactly where that'll go. But if you see Lion Don Swartz, he has been the driving force behind most of those decorations, again, with Lenny, for 40 years. And he needs a big round of, applause for that. Because he and a lot of other people have been deeply involved. It's been a team effort, but he's got the wood shop. He's been cutting the material, painting the material, going down in December, fixing things all December long, making sure the light timing is right, making sure the electrical boxes are correct, adding light or repointing them, and in some cases, tipping stuff up after a windstorm. So he's the December on the common, basically, and I just wanted to thank him. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Councilor. Councilor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. President. And again, I certainly appreciate the effort, and I'm looking forward to seeing the white lights all around the center of town. They're going to really look nice for this holiday season. I guess I have a couple of questions because I really think a couple of things should be cleared up. And I think President Chase certainly cleared up the big one, and that is that we never told anybody that they couldn't do anything or anything like that. So it doesn't start from here. But through you to the town manager, if I could, Is there, Mr. Dutton, a permission process if somebody does want to do something on the town common?
So the way we have treated this traditionally, I say traditionally within the last several years, is that if somebody wants to come and do something, you know, a new event or something that's not a routine event, we do have an approval process to go through. And it really mostly involves public safety. And as you may recall, we've had to deal with this, some public safety related issues throughout the last few years. But essentially what we do is we bring together the public safety team, building official, and others that would have some involvement in either public safety coverage or inspecting, you know, tents or so forth. Anybody that's got a municipal involvement there, we bring those folks together. We review the project. If it's something that I think our policy says, if it's something new, we come to the council and get council approval. If it's a routine matter like the Lions decorating the common or Christmas on the common itself, that's been going on for years and years and years, and so there's no separate approval process needed for that. So that's how we've been handling this.
With the light display that is being planned, which sounds like it's going to be pretty extraordinary, and a nice, you know, festive display to look at. I mean, the timing of the lights going on and off, is that controlled by anybody, or is there a timer? I know the lights on the common last year, or with the Lions decorations, there was like they went off at a certain time. Will that be the same with this?
We have not had any discussion with the BIA about specific time for the lights. I can tell you, and I don't know if this is what you were getting at, the electrical system in the common is not in very good shape, and that's one of the things that really needs to be completely replaced. But to answer your question directly, we haven't had any conversation about the timing specifically.
Right. Again, I hope that we do see some ground decorations as well, along with the lights. I think that's important.
President, if I may, when he's finished, go ahead, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I just would like to see, you know, I hope that there are some ground decorations, and if somebody were to approach perhaps the Lions Club, or if they wanted to make their own ground decorations, that if that's part of the issue that's out there, that I hope that that is done and they're able to do that, in addition to the lights. So, again, it's a common, the word common means something, that it's for everybody, I would think, so, that's it.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Souza.
Yes. This past Saturday, the president of the Bridgewater Business Association approached me while I was downtown and asked me if I would help them because they're in talking with the Lions and talking with others to get all the decorations that the Lions had so that they can continue that process of putting them out there. And if he did that, would I be willing to help him? So they're planning that, and the talks are already ongoing, and he's already recruiting help. So I think he feels quite confident that all those decorations are going to be transferred over to the Business Association, and they're going to continue that process of decorating the common.
Thank you, Counselor. Additional comment or questions from the counselors? Yes, Counselor Perry.
Thank you. Again, just to piggyback, I'm a longtime member of the Lions Club as well, and I've been talking to a number of people over the past week or two between the president of the Lions Club and the town manager. There's definitely been some discussion about keeping the direct decorations going. As Councilor Wood pointed out, the prior chairperson, Mr. Swartz, has been doing this for a very long time, and the club itself is obviously getting older over the years, so the physicality of putting it together each year has been difficult. But there's been other members of the Lions Club that do want to potentially see it continue. And from what we've certainly seen on public media, it seems like the townspeople want to see those decorations continue as well. So there's going to be, as Councilor Wood suggested, there's meetings coming up with the Lions Club with hopes of getting together with the president of the BBA to find a collaboration that's going to allow the decorations to continue to be put up on the common. So more of that will be put together. We have plenty of time to get together, as well with the BIA and their plans for lights. I think a collaboration of the lights as well as the decorations would create a wonderful holiday scene on the common for the entire town. So that's certainly, I believe, what's going to be in the plans.
Well, thank you, Counselor. I appreciate that update, and I suspect that if as a result of collaboration among the various private parties, that the tradition can be maintained, that would be very good news to many members of the community. Counselor Moore.
If I could just add to it, I'm also excited about the lights. I think it will be a great addition. I think to Councilor Wood's point, I think anything that brings people to the downtown area is a good idea. I'm also excited and appreciate the tradition of decorating. And I think the idea of adding to that to make it a common space that represents the town is a great idea. Just a note about maybe some of the confusion on social media, and it was significant. I think actually even to the point we heard earlier, I think that the fact that some of the groups involved are called Bridgewater Improvement Association or Bridgewater Business Association, the public doesn't necessarily understand which things are actually run by the town and which things are run in the town. And so just as a lesson learned maybe out of the communication side of this, I think the more we can do to help people understand what the different groups are, which ones are volunteer organizations, which ones are public organizations, I think probably the better conversations we can have about things like this in the future.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further comments or questions from the counselors? And seeing none, I thank you very much for all of that input. I think it's been helpful to clarify the recent developments, and certainly it appears we have a great deal to still look forward to this year with respect to celebration of the holidays on the town common. Moving on to committee reports, once again. Are there any committee reports the council would care to? Yes, Councilor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to make the next item on the agenda move quickly, the Budget and Finance Committee met prior to this meeting, and we voted unanimously 3-0 to approve all the orders, all three of the orders. I think we already voted the petition last time anyway. That's a standing order. But the three orders on the agenda tonight, we voted to approve.
That's very helpful. Thank you very much, Counselor. Moving on to legislation for action. And the first item is Order FY 23-023, acceptance of a grant from the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. And I would defer, if I may please, to the town manager for comment.
Mr. President, this is a very helpful grant for us. It funds the purchase or partially funds, almost completely funds the purchase of a dedicated generator for the senior center so that we can actually use that on a regular basis and designate that as our warming center in the event of outages or bad storms.
Thank you very much. I note that the Finance Committee, in addition to the Budget and Finance Committee, have also approved this measure. In that case, it was a 5-0 vote to recommend. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just one.
Yes, Councilor Souza?
Through you to the town manager, is that generator going to be a fixed stationed at the senior center?
That is correct. That is,
Not
yep.
like the transferred one at the others that they have. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
One other question to the town manager. Once this is purchased, are there going to be other funds needed to actually install and then get it so that there's a switch and everything that needs to be put in? So I'm going to vote for this. I just know that there's going to be more coming down the road to get it installed, correct?
Well, fortunately, we have, a few years ago, we did install I'll call it the infrastructure necessary for the portable generator. And this time, we don't have to do a whole lot of
Right.
conversion to be able to adapt it to the
But
to the
there'll be
electrical
something,
system.
right? Because when you have
Minor.
it fixed, you just have to
Yeah,
make
I
some
don't
adjustments to it.
know, correct. I don't know that we'd have to come back for an appropriation for that.
Okay.
I don't think we do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further questions? Seeing none, I would ask for a roll call vote, please.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
And Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
That's all. It's not-
Next item is Order FY 23-024, Transfer Order Prior Fiscal Year Bill. And if I could defer to the town manager for comment?
Mr. President, we don't have these very often, but every once in a while, minor bills will slip by, and that we are asking to pay a prior year bill to the tune of $582.06.
Thank you very much.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Any further discussion? Seeing, yes, Counselor Wood.
this isn't even a year old, this is almost 2 years old, so hopefully at the end of this year, there's not another 2-year bill sitting someplace.
I think it was
no.
misdirected mail, looking at the
The invoice is
attachment.
dated December 21st, 2021. I don't think it's 2 years old.
Well, it says, it doesn't matter, we don't have to debate it.
But we pay our bills. All right, thank you very much. If we could have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
And Mr. George?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Order FY 23-025, Transfer Order Contractual Buyouts. If I would please, Mr. Dutton?
President, I think as the council knows, we have essentially our sort of legacy employees that still qualify for sick buyback. These are payouts pursuant to 4 different union contracts that still have those legacy dates.
Thank you.
I can go through. The first one is one employee accrued sick time. The second line for 9,522 is a library employee. The third line, the largest for 298,875, covers 3 police employees, and the final line, 90,469, covers a fire department employee entering into retirement.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President?
Yes, Counselor.
Through you to the town manager, so I'm going to ask you to break out your crystal ball. Just, obviously, we're not going to know specifically, but if you had to envision, at what particular point do you think we will go through all the legacy sick and vacation buyback?
Actually, we do have that. We try to keep fairly close account of people's retirement days. Police and fire have a required retirement date. Most don't make it to age 65 before they retire. They retire once they've got 30, 32 years. So that is, so we do have some
His mic.
certainties. Oh, thank you. So we do have some certainties involved there, and we do have a running accounting of how much accrued time they have. So I think if I recall last time I looked, the major chunk, we're seeing a major, cost right now, and after I think it's 2027, we'll see a precipitous drop. But instead of trying to remember, I'll get the council more specific.
Okay. So, I mean, we'll say 5 to 7 years.
I would
Down
say
the road.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? And seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
And Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. We have before us petition P 2023-010, 2022 state election warrant. And this matter was not before any committee, and we can be considered this evening. I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Go ahead, Mr. Wood.
What happened, two questions through you to the town attorney. What happens if we don't approve this, and can the council change this in any way?
The first one is you will face a lawsuit, and the second one is, no, you will also face a lawsuit.
Thank you.
Very decisive response. I appreciate that. Thank you. Where were we? A motion for approval we have already. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
And Mr. George?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Order FY 23-026, transfer order townhouse roof project. If you would, please, Mr. Dutton.
Mr. President, this, as the council knows, you've appropriated funds to do the, redo the roof at the old town hall, also known for our purposes now as the townhouse. The cost estimates that we did in conjunction with Mass Historic Commission, who is grant funding a fairly substantial portion of this, show that we have a shortfall of $82,500. The Community Preservation Committee was generous enough to recommend appropriation of $82,500, split between the gutter system for $20,000, the roof insulation for $46,800, and rear pediment work for $15,700, which are appropriate places for the community preservation funds to be allocated. The total, as I said, the total request is $82,500. That will allow us to, once the plans are completed and Mass Historic has approved those plans, that will allow us to go out to bid and get the job done as soon as we can.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dutton, and I would entertain a motion for
Motion to send to Budget and Finance Committees?
Second.
motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, and a roll call vote, please.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
And Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Order FY 23-027, FY 2023 classification tax allocation, adoption of residential factor. If you would kindly comment, Mr. Dutton.
Mr. President, this is our annual tax classification process. It begins with a first reading, and it will culminate in a hearing before you, and the assessor will come and explain the Board of Assessors' recommendation to adopt a residential factor of 1 for fiscal '23. Residential factor of 1 essentially means that residential, commercial, industrial, and open space all pay the same rate as each other, so it's a single rate. And so that will be coming before you, presumably, if not your next meeting, then the meeting after.
Thank you very much. I would entertain a motion for referral.
Yeah, motion to refer to the Budget and Finance Committees?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
And Mr. George?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Order FY 23-028, acceptance of a gift from Bridgewater State University in the amount of $55,000. Mr. Dutton?
Again, Mr. President, this is a gift that the university has given annually. In last couple of years, it's increased to $55,000, which we certainly appreciate. The university designates the gift among 3 departments are roadways department, police department, and the fire department, which the university believes provide a great deal of support to the university's operation.
Thank you very much, and our thanks certainly to Bridgewater State University for that.
Make a motion to send to Budget and Finance Committees.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. A roll call vote, please.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
And Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Order FY 23-029, General Fund Transfer Order. And once again, please, Mr. Dutton.
Excuse me, Mr. President, this order transfers some monies out of the ambulance receipt for reserve account and also the highway salaries account to fund additional services and recreational, parks and rec, and also fire salaries. Some of the changes and rearrangements at the fire department have been captured here, and as I mentioned earlier about Parks and Rec, some of the sort of unfunded things that we were, unfunded general fund items that we were covering out of the separate account, revolving account for the Parks and Rec, and then having to cover at the end of the year are being reflected here as part of the general fund salary instead of trying to juggle at the end of the year. So essentially, things that we traditionally have waited till the end of the year to ask you to transfer, we're trying to do that as we go instead of at the end of the year.
Thank you very much. I would entertain a motion.
Motion to send to the Budget and Finance Committees.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none.
Actually,
Yes.
just a quick point of clarification through you to the town manager. So when it says salaries, we go through the budget process of establishing budgets around salaries themselves. Without getting into infinite detail, can you just talk just a little bit about why we're doing these transfers under salaries? I can see expenses, unforeseen expenses that come across everyone's table that we just didn't anticipate, but could you just give us a little bit more on the salary side?
I think in the case of transferring money from salaries, we have available funding. We can't fill positions, I think, as you know, at the Highway Department. So it is a source of available funding. It's a small piece of the unfunded salary amount that sits there, and we were, I think, attempting to make sure that we could cover the overages that we saw in the fire department and the recreational as well. So the money coming out of the ambulance reserve covers salaries and can cover salaries and also related equipment costs for the fire department. But in this case, there's really no magic answer to that.
So, I mean, would one thing under the salaries be overtime?
No. With the source of salaries or the use of salaries?
The use.
There is some use of salaries to cover overtime. We've had a bunch of not injured on duty, but folks that have been out on sick leave for a variety of injuries, and we have had one or two injured on duty. So it does cover some of those overtime charges to cover those shifts.
My question wasn't about the source, it was the use.
I'm sorry.
So, I mean, when people look at it and they see salaries, we go through a pretty extensive and exhausting budget process, but at the end of the year, to look at basically, well, let's call it, 75,000 in unanticipated salary expenses, I just want people to know that these salary expenses are out of the norm.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. We have a motion and a second. If I could have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
And Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. And Finally, order FY 23-030, transfer order sewer enterprise fund. And if you would kindly, please, once again, Mr. Dutton.
Thank you, Mr. President. This, we had anticipate, when we built the sewer budget, we had anticipated that we would have a rate increase. We decided to defer that rate increase for a year because we felt that we had already hit folks with a water rate increase. So we have about over $2.5 million in the retained earnings, and we felt that it was more appropriate to shift $413,000 from the retained earnings into the budget in order to get us through the balance of FY23.
I thank you. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second for
To
discussion.
Budget and Finance Committee.
Very good. And is that, yes, comment?
And I know this is just first reading, and I'll ask this question at the Budget and Finance meeting, but, you know, the budget that just started July 1st, so I mean, none of these accounts are in the negative already, are they?
No.
After 3, okay.
No.
All right.
Thank you, Counselor. And if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Columbotus?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
And Mr. George?
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. We're moving on to citizen comments, and if there are citizens who care to step forward to address the council, please do so.
Good evening again, gentlemen. Rigobert Noel, 10 Garnett Place. I just want to extend my deepest gratitude to each of you for your 9-0 vote. This is just the start. And I'm excited that, those who will be on this new committee, once it begins to form, will certainly roll up their sleeves, tighten their bootstrap, and begin working. And I am certainly excited to be a contributor, one way or another, to continue delivering various programs to our town that will most certainly heighten and highlight the importance of inclusivity as well as belonging. So thank you so much. I'm sure the team, they're probably online watching now, and they are certainly excited. I know I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Further citizens for citizen comment? Dr. Hunt?
Thank you for a quick meeting and in depth. As a member of the Energy Committee, I would like to request for the Fire Station Building Committee that an Energy Committee member be put on that committee to represent energy uses. I know of a number of things that I've already put in, but I think that would be appropriate to have somebody that's engaged in the energy advice in the town on that committee. Secondly, when I first started in the Energy Committee, we purchased a thing called a Big Belly Solar Trash Compactor. It has had a wayward life throughout Bridgewater. The last time I understood where it was, it's over at the regional high school. That is a compactor that enables you to put trash in. It gets compacted so you can get more trash into it, and it's all solar powered, so it doesn't get on the grid. My suggestion is that we either get the solar compactor back from the high school area and put it at the park on Crescent Street. More importantly, I would like to recommend, at this point, my recommendation is that we purchase more of those to go around the parks. We're improving parks. We have people picking trash up, putting trash down at Carver's Pond. So I think a capital list should carry a number of those. So that's just my thoughts there. In terms of lights on the common, thank you for your comments tonight. I'm a member of the BIA, Bridgewater Improvement Association. We're over 100 years old. We're a nonprofit. And the one issue that people often don't understand, that the common is in the historic district. Anything that goes on the outside of a building, on the ground, a sign in the lawn, all of that stuff has to be approved by a certificate of appropriateness by the HDC. Bridgewater Improvement Association has already gotten that feedback from that committee for the lights. It's a temporary installation, therefore it's probably not as important. But even the things that the Lions put on have to have a certificate of appropriateness. In terms of the common itself, BIA has already paid for the 20 or 25 electrical in-ground boxes to be cleaned out, the sand and sawdust. I looked at most of them. They have gone in and cleaned it. We have also tried to arrange for someone to work and get power back on the common. I know there is an issue about separating the feed to the common and the townhouse come through the same feed. So it's 1 meter. Separating those meters so that we have a good handle on what it costs to run lights on the common and what it costs to lights and energy in the building are really important. I don't think it requires digging up street lines and that, but I think splitting that meter might be helpful. That's up to the town. I understand that they're looking at that. I don't know what the schedule is. And I think the other thing I need to say is, thank goodness we have early voting. It's here, the booths are there. After this meeting, I will be resetting this up for early voting going on through Saturday, I believe it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other citizens for citizen comment? And seeing none, I would ask for comments from the councilors. And if I may please begin with Councilor Perry.
All right, I just certainly want to thank the recent appointments of Mr. Milashev and Mr. Greenberg for their volunteerism, and I wish them luck on those committees and thank them for their service. And again, I think just to reiterate again, for the upcoming holiday season, I think what we all want to see is just a nice collaboration of new and exciting, new projects, new lights, which is wonderful. But there's also something to be said for tradition that a lot of people like to continue to see, especially our young children who enjoy taking pictures and stuff. I think I saw a few recent posts of people about 20 years younger than they are today, having photos on the train and on Santa's seat and a lot of the different things that we've had on the common for many, many years. So I think there's something to be said for tradition as well. So I think my goal and hope is to make sure that that continues. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Souza.
I want to thank the two people who were appointed to the committees today. These are the type of people that we really need, and we need more of them because there are a lot of committees still short of help. So please step up if you can. We all need it. And this tree committee, I have talked about trees in this town since I got on the committee. You can remember I haunted you people for 2 years to get the dead ones cut. I've also talked about the trees that the branches are in the sidewalks and people have to go into the street or into the lawns of the people next door to bypass them. And I'm hoping these things are taken care of and don't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor George.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things. And I know that Mr. Baumgarten has left. So as long as I've been on the council, I think as long as I can remember per se, getting information out to the public with technology is a blessing and a curse. I'll put it that way, and I'm looking at it from my perspective. I know we had probably 5 or 6 years ago a very in-depth discussion on trying to get our communications up to speed for what it was back then. Let's move 6 years forward. It's really not any better. And what I mean by that is, I know that Mr. Baumgarten said Facebook is a social media platform. Not everyone uses Facebook. Some people use Twitter. Some people don't use social media at all. I was struck by the newspaper that was being passed around. But when that was that date, there was really 2 ways of getting communications to people. It was really either doing it in the newspaper or mailing things out. We've tried mailing things out. It's a very costly expense. I think we've done a couple, over the course of time with very little return. I'm not trying to say that we don't need to improve our communications, but I think it's going to be a very difficult process to kind of put it into one platform and have that as the place to go. So we are really going to have to look at different avenues to do it. And even then, when we do it, there's always going to be people that aren't going to get it, aren't going to read it, things of that nature. So I think it'll be one of those challenges for this council and councils to come after us to be able to get that communication out there. I'm glad that Dr. Hunt brought up early voting. For those that have busy schedules, please try to get the time either to do the early voting here in person, or if you've got your ballot in the mail, get that going as quickly as possible, because as we've seen in the past, every vote does really count. To go back to the common, and I'm not, I don't want to go into the social media, I'll say, back and forth. I did really like to see people that were fully verbally supporting decorating the common. That's great. And I'm going to say to the Lions, thank you very much for 40-plus years. I'm not speaking for the Lions, but it's pretty obvious that one of the challenges were many hands make light work, and there were too few hands that were really putting in the work. So hopefully for the people that communicated that they're ready, willing, and able to help, please step up. That not only will make the work on the common much easier for people, but I too love to see the lights, I love to see the decorations, and I'd love to see that going forward. But to put that onus on a small group is very unfair. So hopefully people that are watching this that did voice, I'm there for support, reach out to the BIA, reach out to the BBA, reach out to the Lions if they're still going to be involved, and follow through on that so that we do have a great group of people that are doing whatever we need to do, both to put up the decorations as well as to break them down as well, because I know that can be a challenge. And the last thing is I was able to attend, I don't know if it was the farmer's market, but over on Spring Street, on Saturday, and to all the volunteers. I think they did a great job. Hopefully that will carry over to the spring. I would love to see a sustainable farmer's market in Bridgewater. I think that would be great, on top of the vendors and things of that nature. So the weather was great, and all the volunteers did a great job. So keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor. Councilor Moore.
Sure. So just a couple of things. First, I was excited to see the DEI and B committee pass. Thank you for all of the work that everyone put into bringing that to us. I know that was a long time coming, and a lot of work went into that. And also thank you to the town council for passing that. Also, building off of what Councilor George said on the communication improvement, we did hear a few things. The website is a challenge for many people. Today I tried to find the agenda because I couldn't pull it up, and I couldn't, right? So I am a town councilor in the town trying to find information on what we're voting on and can't find it. So we certainly have work to do there. And I agree with Councilor George where, we've had a lot of conversations about how do you get information to the public. And I think we're still trying to figure that out. But one thing that we don't have today is predictability. So whatever we're trying, if it's a video when big issues come up, if it's a newspaper at the front of the building, if it's a post on, it changes every time we communicate. And so people have no opportunity to learn where to go to find information. So I think that's a challenge for us to solve maybe in an upcoming meeting to think about, what are some ways we could actually tackle that. And then the last thing is, looking at all of the posts on social media about the town common, it was really exciting to see people come out and be passionate. But it was also, in many ways, very disturbing to see the way that some people express that passion. I think a lot of people with good intentions kind of came in and started pointing and shooting instead of coming in and saying like, how can I help? And so I would just encourage people, when you are passionate about an issue, and I hope you are, because I think that's how democracies run, use that passion to learn more about the issue, to ask about the issue, to find out how you can help, to be the volunteer that you want to see. And I think in the long run, engaging with important issues in that way gets us much further than, kind of looking for somebody to take the fall for it. So I guess that's my only comment on that.
Thank you, Councilor Moore. Councilor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things tonight, and I'm excited about what's going to take place on the Common and the downtown this holiday season. I'm looking forward to it, and again, I hope that there are some ground decorations put up as well. But before that, let's get through Halloween first, and then we'll worry about the other holidays. And just everybody be safe on Halloween. It's a Monday night. Hope all your kids get out there and go to all the events that I see posted. I want to thank the Fire for Effect, new organization that put on the event down at the Town River Landing this past weekend. And we heard from a gentleman tonight who has a lot of ideas and wants to continue with the cleanup and cleanup of that area. I really think it would be a destination for the whole community to use that Town River Landing area, and hopefully we can get a bridge put over the river and then cut out the walking paths, so it's a really great destination for the community. But I want to thank them for their efforts and for them reaching out to the local businesses and hopefully raising some money for their cause. I think that's a great addition to the community. As has been mentioned, there's early voting going on right now, and it goes through Saturday, I think about since Saturday at 5 o'clock. So if you're not able to vote on Election Day, you have plenty of opportunities to vote early, or you've got your mail-in ballot. But in addition to that, we also have a town election coming up where there have been some people that have pulled papers, and there's still one district that does not have a candidate yet. I hope people go to the town website and see what's available, and if they have time to give to the community, as we all have for several years now, to step up to the plate and run for office. And again, one more reminder about the Community Preservation Committee public hearing tomorrow evening at 6:30 via Zoom. You'll have to go to the town website to get the link. I hope you can find it, but I'm sure it's right there. And they're going to talk about, as has been mentioned, the history of how CPC has evolved over the years and some things that they have done and some of the current projects that are ongoing ongoing right now, and what the future of CPC will be, and some of the future projects, in addition to listen to your comments as far as what you might want to see the CPC undertake down the road. And I also will be hosting my fall coffee with the counselor this Saturday at Bridgewater Bagel, so anybody that wants to stop by and talk to me or anyone that's there, please stop by Bridgewater Bagel, 8:30 to 11 a.m., and have a nice hot cup of coffee. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. To Counselor Columbotus.
I've got nothing tonight, thanks.
Thank you very much. To Counselor Wood.
Thank you. I'll continue the theme of information is hard to spread through Facebook and others. The Common had a change this week, not decorations. This is completely different. 2 crosswalks were wiped out and barriers were placed, and I don't recall seeing anywhere that change was going to take place. And that has a significant effect on the 4 pillars that I consider important for downtown. Number 1 is pedestrian, number 2 is traffic, number 3 is parking, and if you can solve for the first 3, businesses will come downtown. So I'm in favor of one of the crosswalks being shut off, not the other one, but there wasn't a discussion, there wasn't an announcement, I didn't see a notice to us so that we could answer questions, and so maybe it does improve safety, maybe it doesn't, that's to say. I did get a call, had another lengthy discussion on the on the barrier that was put across, which apparently is gas pipe and is flexible, so if a kid sits on it or trips on it, there could be a safety issue. And so there's that piece. Putting stuff out on Facebook or other places is difficult. I've seen that warehouse down the street talked about 15 different times, what it could be, what it couldn't be, what it might be, and then someone else asked the same question all over again. So it's a huge challenge. We can point to the planning board meetings and send people there for information. I've done that in the past. But it's not easily visible. It's not like the paper getting in your mailbox and saying, oh, this is this and that is that. So let's return back to the Lions for a second. I'll keep everything brief. One of the things I think that I was dismayed in this whole thing is that the Lions were portrayed as old and feeble, and that's not the case. The Lions have always been an older group. It's something you get into when your kids are off the fields or you're close to retirement. So that's always been the case. The current line, the decorations is a service project to the group. The service projects that is the main focus and has been for the past 2 years is building handicap ramps for people around Bridgewater. It's a huge effort. We just got a $2,500 donation to help with parts and other things that we need. The last ramp that was built was 67 feet long, and it was inspected by a member of one of the companies that builds ramps. They came, they looked at stability and angles and everything else, and it was good. It's a project that's undertaken by the same hands that usually do the common. So, you're lifting aluminum parts and bolting and fixing, and it's another labor that's the decorations, if they go up, they probably need some TLC. That's always a big thing. People don't understand the effort isn't just lift it up and put it down. There's a ton of work that's done off-season, and anything that goes forward has to keep that in mind. I was attracted to the Lions because of the decorations. I joined the Lions because of the decorations. If they go forward, great. If they don't, it would be a new time. I will say, though, as a Lion and as a former member of the membership committee, which I'm no longer, the Lions, Bridgewater Lions, have moved location after 30 years at the Polish Club. And we love the Polish Club, but recently we've had a lot of new members and a lot of people at dinner. We've kind of outgrown the Polish Club function hall. We are now meeting down at the Vets Club. When we talk about diversity and inclusion, the Lions Club welcomes everybody and anyone who wants to come in and help out with service projects, with some of the other fundraising that we do for iResearch, or anything you might see a Lion do. So there's a lot of Lions around Bridgewater. There's probably well over 100 in total. It's easy to find us. If you want to come down and check us out, many of us can help you out. And that's it for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councilor. Councilor Rushton.
I will be brief. I just wanted to recognize the 6 BR alum who graduated last Thursday, who reside in the town of Bridgewater from the 87th RTT, the Recruit Training Troop in the Mass State Police. Congratulations to them, and hopeful for a long and safe career.
Oh, thank you very much, Councilor. For my part, I guess I would just like to repeat a number of the points that have been made tonight. I think that the appointments that the council has approved tonight are really very important. I think that the candidates who have come forward are eminently qualified, and I think that was readily recognized by the councilors here tonight. And for my part, I thank you for having seen that and approved those appointments. In a similar vein, the 2 public hearings that were held tonight to create 2 new town committees, which have been in various forms in the works for many, many months. And, I think we all have to acknowledge the effort that went into, a grassroots effort that went into the initial discussions that have brought forth what will now be the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Belonging Committee, and of course, the Tree Committee. These are two very valuable assets and very valuable contributions to the town, and I think they're great opportunities for further citizen participation. I'm sure we're going to see citizens come forward to assist those organizations. With respect to the decorations on the Common, I thank everyone for your thoughtful comments tonight. I think that, many of the social media comments were, frankly, intended to be very helpful. Some of them perhaps fell a little bit short of that, and maybe they were, a little too quick to draw a conclusion as to what the nature of the issue is that caused the apparent cessation of the decorations. But nonetheless, I think that we've provided to the public a good venue this evening for the purpose of getting to the bottom of that issue. And as well, I think, and I'm thinking of Councilor Perry's comments with respect to collaboration among the various parties, Bridgewater Improvement Association, Bridgewater Business Association, and others. If there is in fact room there for cooperation and collaboration among those parties, I think that the town would benefit greatly and would be very happy to see restoration of a seasonal display. We know that the plan for the lighting is underway, and we certainly want to see that proceed successfully. And I think that in one way or another, I think that we will actually have a very festive holiday display on the town common, and I certainly encourage it. That's all I have this evening. I thank you all tonight. I thank all of the members from the public who have joined with us to express comments. I thought that they were very thoughtful and very welcome comments, and we appreciate the input from everyone. And I would, at this point, entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. And could we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Rushton?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
And Mr. Wood?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.